So, if I remember correctly, we wanted to start still in the evening, correct? Like before the long rest.
Yeah.
Okay. So, last week, we started our new campaign, and we met Neil, this direction, and Dezzen. And to start with, Dezzen's master, Satara, it took him aside and let him know that she was most likely going to be detained for an unknown period of time, and to escape from the apartment she had within the mansions of Desmi's main city, or of Desmi's main area. So Dezzen was able to escape and make his way through the city of Desmi, and the next morning, he walked into Fabulous Baubles? No, I got that wrong.
No, that's right.
Okay, Fabulous Baubles. Where he met Neil, the artificer, and you two proceeded to kick off a hopeful friendship. For now, at least, it is a business relationship where you have been requested by a local alchemist to grab some ogre toenails, which are just to the west of Desmi. On your way, going through the swamp, decided to take a sidetrack, see what the shadows were all about, encountered some shadow pixies, some shadow, not pixies, sprites, who were laughing at your jokes until Neil pulled out one of his newest contraptions, which I believe was intended to pinpoint the location of bad guys.
Like detect shadow creatures or something like that.
Yeah. However, it emitted an incredibly high-pitched squeal, which pissed off the shadow sprites, in which they called
but
a few.
It did locate them.
It did locate them, in a way. It pissed them off and made them call a couple of denizens of the swamp to come aid them after you killed two of their companions. Battle ensued. Dezzen got knocked unconscious. Some randomness happened. The guys were defeated. Y'all made your way out of the swamp, eventually pulling Dezzen out from under the tree, giving him a little bit of health, and you made your way to the only safe area, we'll say, to rest, which was on the main road. You both rented a room for the night, and I believe Neil purchased
a room.
A room, right? It's
right.
It's places to rest. It's comfortable-ish.
For 1 gold.
For one gold. 1 gold.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's run by goblins, so...
It is run by, yes. You know for a fact 1 goblin so far. And I believe Neil had purchased some antiseptic, some extra antiseptic? No, rice. A cup of rice.
It was rice, yeah.
After the shadow sprites had thrown his new contraption into the swamp, to dry it out, Dezzen had purchased some antiseptic to help cleanse his wounds. All for 1 gold. 1 gold. And I will leave you guys. I'm not real sure where you're meeting. I know y'all had eaten, so I don't know if you're meeting in one of your rooms or if y'all bunked up. They're bunks, let's be honest. If y'all ensure that your bunks were next to each other. So you tell me what it is that you want to do, what the evening looks like, and we will go from there.
So I'm picturing us in like this hostel that has several bunks in one room.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. It might have multiple floors, maybe 2.5, but that's pretty much what it is.
Are you feeling better, friend?
just embarrassed, I suppose.
Well, I don't know about you. That was my first large shadow demon fight, so perhaps no need to be so ashamed.
Next time, we should watch for the tail.
It did have a large tuchus, so that would make sense.
Speaking of which, where are the tails?
You loaded them on the faithful Bernard here. I believe they should catch us at least a little bit of compensation for our efforts. Oop, there went my app.
Well,
we won't tell them about you falling down under the tree.
Right. I suppose I'm rusty. How far the ogres are, do you know?
Well, I do believe they're beyond the swamp, a bit to the west. It's been a while since I've seen them. They're fairly nomadic, but I think they populate that forest pretty densely.
Do we have anything to fear of them?
Well, I don't think so. They're mostly able to tell you if they're going to kill you, because they'll say things like, "You look tasty," or "Me smash." So keep your ears out for that, I suppose. But we have these shinies, which might be able to procure us the toenail clippings. And then I believe you said your trusty rapiers were our fallback plan, though after the tree debacle, I'm a little worried about that plan.
Well, I would like to say I wouldn't have that problem again, but no guarantees.
Ogres can grab trees if they're small enough, so just keep your eyes out for anything like that. And stand behind me. As you saw, my repulsion shield is highly effective.
Should I throw my swords at them?
Well, maybe just let me get their attention. If things get to fisticuffs, I can distract them while you do that thing that you do.
Fisticuffs, though. I like it.
He's an old man.
Ish.
Well, not by gnome standards, but I'm choosing that he's 100,
Right.
so therefore.
Yeah. 100%. I get it.
Sure. So we keep going tomorrow.
Yes, I believe everything here is fairly overpriced, so we should only get what we need and then back on the road.
It's too bad they don't have health potions here.
I don't know if we've asked. We could ask. If they say a gold, that would be quite a steal.
Yes, I don't believe goblins are quite that stupid.
Yes, it's true. He's only been upmarking everything so far, so he probably would do the same with the potions. If you don't want to ask, I understand, but I'm happy to ask if you wish while you rest and recuperate.
I wonder if there's a healer here of some sort.
It's a good question. You would think with how dangerous the swamps are, there ought to be.
Did you get his name?
Oh no, I think I was actually contemplating the value of our goods received versus his projected cost statement. So I was lost in frustration at how much he had marked up the goods.
Right. Well, I suppose I'll go ask him. So I'll walk over to the goblin.
Walk over to the front area.
Walk over to the front end area, yeah.
As you exit the bunked room, you see him in the front bowing to multiple people who have just walked in. No, I'm sorry. I know, you're right. I won't argue. You can have the entire second bunk. Just, I'm sorry for even asking, and he won't even raise his eyes. As a group of 5 armored men and women are stomping mud off their boots and...
What type of armor are they wearing?
Armor that you would recognize very, very well from within the city of Dezzen. This would be specifically in... Man, my chest today. Within the Grove, where you would have spent almost every moment that you ever had here. So it's the higher guard from Dezzen. Most likely, specifically, a guard of one of the gods.
Oh, good.
And you can hear Cornelius unbagging his rice and talking to himself.
So I'll just kind of walk by him casually up to Gallywix or whatever his name is.
They pay you absolutely no mind, and if you get in their way, they will just shove you right out. Gallywix. What the fuck?
I don't know any other goblin name.
Yeah, but Gallywix is like this giant fat goblin.
I know.
True.
So it takes him a moment to realize that you're standing there as his head is just bowed. Yeah, what do you need?
Sir, can I trouble you with a question?
Of course.
Do you know if there's a healer in the building?
His head jerks up. Are you serious? A healer in the building? No.
Do you have health potions?
Dude. He just kind of looks around and he's like, do I look like a variety shop? You pay, you sleep. I have some food. You also pay for that. And obviously, a little bit of antiseptic for bug bites. But that's so that nobody spreads disease within my nice hotel I have here. I think you did. Did you buy the antiseptic?
I don't believe so. I'm also not sure if it was offered. I just remember talking about food and room.
Oh, okay.
What was your name? I didn't catch it.
Well, I didn't throw it. It's Glub. It is Glub's hotel.
Glub. Do you have any extra bottles of antiseptic I could purchase?
And you hear a tiny little laugh as he says, I didn't throw it. Sure. 1 gold for the antiseptic. Little bottle. I mean, I don't know what you're going to use it for. You look more like you've been beaten with a big stick rather than, bitten by bugs, but here.
Thank you. I'll hand him the gold.
Is there anything else I can get your personage for the evening?
Some food would be good.
Food. Also 1 gold.
Right. So I'll take out another gold and hand it to him.
He will grab the gold, pop it into his little pouch that jingles as he walks back. Hey, studs, Give me a bowl of food. He'll come back with a bowl of rice, some kind of unknown meat, and stewed mushrooms of various different colors.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You lack personality completely. Are you one of your friend's things that he's tinkering with back there?
No. I don't think so, at least.
Right.
That's why Rye attempted a joke to him.
He's not catching it.
It's pretty good.
Well, if you find out the answer, don't tell me. Alright? Yeah. Enjoy the meal. And avoid them. Okay? Okay.
I meant to ask you about that. Who are they?
They are delivering the latest acquisition to the city. That's all you need to know, really.
Oh, thank you. I'll walk away.
Right. Strange ones come out of the swamp tonight. Okay. So you have acquired a very small bottle of antiseptic and a meal of kinds.
All right, so I will take the antiseptic and just like kind of start pouring it over my wounds, I suppose.
I would say if you have clean bandages, you could
Do I have clean bandages though?
probably not. You tell me.
I'm not going back up to the goblin. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go back up to the goblin.
Okay. As you walk back and start like dribbling a little, and you're like, that's just not staying on.
Gob.
Blub. But yes.
Couldn't remember his name.
Oh, I thought that was intentional.
What was the name of it? Glub's what?
Blub's Hotel.
Hotel, yeah.
Do you have bandages? I just realized I probably shouldn't pour this on myself.
You know?
I mean,
I'm feeling a little concerned. How much time have you actually spent outside? Right. That's about what I thought. So, I'm gonna ask a question I already know the answer to. Do you know how to sew? Right.
do you?
Yes. I'm going to give you a kit.
Is it 1 gold?
Yes. You need to learn how to use it. I will not teach you. I'm not real sure that you are an actual living thing. And I lost my camera. Perfect. It's going to be one of those nights.
It's back for me.
Yeah. So, give me a few minutes, stay out of their way, and I will return. Okay. Okay. So he will leave you standing next to the reception area of this place for quite a few minutes. And you watch as the escort goes. Most of them seem to have settled down into the other area of beds, of bunks. However, there are two constantly going back and forth. One of them will stop, yell at Suds to get meals and a single extra serving of rice, which the single extra serving of rice, you watch as they take it outside. And then after a few minutes of just kind of standing there, blood will reappear. All right. In this package, and he like shows you this little bitty sack of like burlap sack. You have clean bandages. You need to clean them. You have 2 needles, some thread, and don't. You know what? Good luck. And he will just hand you the bag. 1 gold, please.
Thank you, Club.
Good luck. Don't. Can you die?
I'm not sure.
Interesting. Very interesting. Enjoy your stay.
So I'll walk back to Neil. That is a strange goblin.
Did you get any sort of health potions or a healer?
I did get a kit of some sort. He's strange.
He's the strange one. What are you talking about? He's the strange one.
So a kit does not sound like a health potion. Is this some sort of healer in a kit?
It comes with bandages and ways to
just
sew myself up.
Oh. Well, we had that on Bernard. I suppose you could put it with the rest on Bernard if you wish.
Right. You know what's funny?
What?
He thinks I'm an android.
Well, that's silly. There isn't a metallic piece visible on you. We aren't to that level of automation.
I think he thinks that I'm one of your creations. I think we should keep playing it up.
To what end? I mean, I'm all about shenanigans. I'm just curious.
I find it enjoyable.
Very well.
I mean,
you deserve to have your spirits raised after being so thoroughly trounced by that tree.
There's a tiny giggle echoes through the room.
yes, the tree. I suppose I'll never live that down.
I'll leave you alone tomorrow. It's just too funny to leave alone today. I'm sorry.
Right. Yes, anyway. I don't think he knows you can charge more or less than a gold for items.
It also seems like he has a bunch of garbage that isn't worth the gold, so unless we can identify something quite valuable.
Oh, speaking of which, Neil.
Yes?
Could you tell me what is in my bowl? There seems to be some sort of unknown meat in here that I can't identify.
Oh. I'm sorry, you said bowl. I heard something else for a second there. Sure, let's take a look-see.
You think I said butthole or balls? Oh, shit.
You'll never know.
Right.
What is do I recognize this mystery meat?
Roll nature? Nature.
Do I recognize it? I should have asked that first, I guess.
Roll nature?
22.
22. I mean, what did Dezzen get?
23.
Wow. Okay,
Wow.
so...
Way to one-up me.
I know. Okay, so, Dezzen, I would say that, the smell of it is fairly familiar to you, as there is a pretty... It's a delicacy that is served, but
Oh, no.
the meat that you're used to is much finer. This meat looks much tougher, but the delicacy would be like iguana, but this meat looks like it came from a much larger creature. So, Neil, you might have seen it as some of the street food. It is crocodile.
Oh, that's a crock chop there you have. It's quite good if you have enough of the sauce.
I suppose that's better than rat, which is what I was expecting.
That is a safe thing to assume in these parts. No, croc is, relatively better. A nobler animal, but just as prone to disease as the rat.
Perfect. And at that, I've got to go to the restroom. I'll be right back.
All right.
What were you tinkering with while Dezzen was waiting for...
So I would have taken the outer casing, the encasing off of my Twilight. I forget what I call it. The Twilight Analyzer or Twilight Detector or something. Shadow Detector or something like that. I'd have to go rewatch the session to find it. But basically, I've taken apart my device. I've put rice strategically around the pieces that look like they should not be tinkered with any further, but need to be dried. And then I'd probably be working with my small tools. I'd probably have like a screwdriver with a felt tip, and I'd be removing any gunk that had built up from the swamp from the inner circuitry.
Okay. I mean, it's a mess. It was able to sink down and settle in the mud at the bottom of one of these little pools.
Note for Mark II. Watertight exterior.
Yeah, watertight would be very good. Maybe, make sure that dust can't get in there even.
Then I'd be reflecting on the resonance chamber being too strong, which is what I suspect made the irritating noise for the sprites. So I'd be thinking about whatever system logic I'd need to change to reduce the resonation to hopefully get it just right.
Perfect. Gotta have half-beast shadow sprites. Don't want to piss those guys off again.
And then in the back of my mind, though this is like the back of Neil's mind where he kind of dreams more than he tinkers, he'd be thinking about if there's a way to incorporate joke telling into the machine, as that seems to be something that attracts various shadow creatures. But he isn't quite sure how to pull that off, as it has no sort of speaker or vocal system within it.
That's actually a really good idea. Huh.
But we're in the prototype phases for that sort of a feature.
as Neil is brainstorming the brand new technology of speakers.
Would I have heard these tiny giggles, by the way?
Yeah, you would have heard that one for sure.
So that one, but would I have heard any of the other ones while he was talking to the goblin, just based off where I was in the building in relation to it?
I would say maybe. Maybe. You probably would have heard the giggle like coming from, so let's say like this is the hotel, right? Like this is going to be the reception area, and then you have a hall that comes up and then goes back, and then this would be the rooms back here. So there definitely wouldn't be any doors per se, but I would say like that giggle would probably echo because that reception area wouldn't be that big. Be like a faint.
For the one giggle that I heard, could I discern if it was coming from within or something I was hearing from without the building?
Roll perception.
15.
15. I mean, it definitely sounds like it's coming from within the building somewhere. Whether or not you can pinpoint exactly where that is, that's a whole different measure. But the other giggle you heard was not from the same direction.
Oh. So I'm going to lean into Dezzen and real quietly.
I've heard a couple of giggles. I don't know if the shadow sprites are still around us.
Would I've heard it too?
They found my jokes funny again.
Well, I'm glad you heard them. I thought I was losing my mind.
I'm mostly concerned about our safety within the building if they hold a grudge for us murdering their friends.
Well, I suppose we could tell them jokes to death.
That was a decent attempt.
You hear a little...
Shall we go find them?
Very well.
Alright, I'm gonna go try to find them. Or find where the laughing's coming from, at least.
How do you plan on doing this?
I'm just gonna try to walk towards the source of where I'm hearing the laughing come from.
Okay.
Perhaps we use a radar type solution. Dezzen, what's the difference between you and a tree?
I don't know what.
The tree grows out of the ground, you grow up underneath the tree. I'm not hearing anything. It's funnier jokes.
As Austin Googles dad jokes.
Right. You know, this is a lot easier when you're not trying to think of jokes.
Hey, I got another one. You know what's the difference between Dezzen and a hole in the ground?
What, Neil?
No, I was legitimately asking because I can't tell the difference.
You too. You hear a little giggle behind you.
There. Follow the noise, Dezzen.
I'm gonna go towards that, wherever that noise is coming from.
Okay, what's your passive perception?
12.
Okay. So what roll for I mean, if you're searching for something, investigation?
Oh yeah, that investigation roll 22.
What the fuck? Y'all's rolls are good tonight. Okay.
I have advantage on everything, so
Okay. Let me get my dice.
hey, you're pretty good with those jokes, you know.
It's really easy when you're quite hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Okay, so
Sorry, I realized that made it sound like I was telling you that I thought I was hilarious. I was saying that today's adventures made you come across as very hilarious, so it's easy to make jokes about you at your expense.
Yes, no thanks. I got that.
I just didn't want you to think I had a big head about it. I'm only as good as the joke material.
Yes, and barely even that.
So as you're walking behind Neil to try to find the shadow sprite, and you say, and you're barely good at that or something, you hear a tiny giggle like right in front of you, and then you hear wings flutter as if trying to get away.
We're still inside the place.
Yeah, you're still inside the place. Y'all are in the
cast
bunks.
Fairy Fire.
Whoa! The dex, right?
Yep.
Oh. Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
The room will briefly flash in a light blue light.
And, oh, you know what? Wow. What's your DC?
16.
Two little blue glows. One darting away from Dezzen, and the other one, now that you are distracted from your little machine, is hovering over your machine, reaching out to grab it.
Why is my save on that a 10? Based off of charisma or something?
What are we talking about?
The fairy fire. Because I have it as well, but mine says Dex 10.
It might be. It's a racial, right?
Yeah, mine's a racial.
So whatever your racial,
Drow.
yeah, whatever your racial casting. I'd have to look.
Oh, you're
Oh.
asking why mine's a 16?
Well, his is a 16 because he's got higher multipliers for magic. I don't know that you have any multipliers for magic.
Yeah, that may be why. Okay.
Yeah, I currently have +5 to intelligence, which is my casting modifier. And then I think I get 1 from one other source or something like that.
Yeah, you have your casting modifier and then your very sad day. Proficiency bonus, I believe.
So I would yell out, Dezzen, get the one that's fleeing. And I try to get the one that's next to my device if I can.
Okay. So, roll a dex check. Gonna be contested. We'll do Neil first.
That would be a 7.
Okay. So you reach out to grab the sprite, attempting to steal your device, and he dodges out of the way. However, leaves your machine. Dice are not good to me.
They're failing you today?
Yeah, switching dice.
I rolled a 24, so it might not matter.
However, Dezzen takes a running leap and just snatches the next one out of the air. You're holding a fairy, right? That's glowing, and it's going to attempt to bite you. What's your AC? It's a 21 to hit.
17?
So he screeches, and as he just bites the inside of your finger, it doesn't do any damage. It's just obnoxious.
Hey, Please stop.
What do you want? Why grab me? Why?
Is there a reason you're following us?
You're funny.
Really? Can I ask you a question?
Are you gonna let me go when we're done?
Of course.
Okay.
Who's the funniest?
I plead the fifth.
It's fascinating that such creatures would have knowledge of human laws.
God damn it.
American laws, nonetheless.
You're both really funny looking. Does that help?
I suppose so.
I'm trying to make my device in tune with your kind, not trying to cause you any sort of distress. Is it still causing you distress? I noticed your friend was fairly close to it.
It's loud and it hurts our ears.
Oh, I'm very sorry about that. I'll turn it off now.
And we haven't had any visitors in years and years and years and years, and then you show up and you're kind of funny, and then you turn on the little thing and it just makes a lot of noise and it hurts our ears, and then you kill two of our friends for no reason whatsoever. We were just following you and laughing, and then you started attacking. So funny.
I'm very sorry about that. I thought you might have been a bigger danger than it turns out. And not that you're not a noble, proud creature. We just thought you were perhaps something more sinister. My apologies for your lost comrades. If I could take it back, I would.
You're already regrowing.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Is there any sort of thing we could offer to make amends for our trespass against your noble sprite people?
I'll just look over at Neil like, what?
No. Let me go.
Okay.
I'll drop the fairy fire.
Okay. You're holding onto an invisible little sprite.
I'm gonna let it go.
You hear him fluttering away. And then you hear
Here's a good one. You can tell your
voices.
friends.
Okay. Yeah. Jokes. Oh.
What's the difference between a noble shadow sprite and Dezzen?
What?
A noble shadow sprite can dodge a tree.
And they'll start giggling. And you hear them laughing as they leave. All invisible.
You never know when small political alliances like the ones we just negotiated can come in handy, Dezzen. This is my first lesson to you.
You negotiated?
I mean, at least in Neil's mind, he thinks he has.
I'll give him a side eye. Yes, and also, you should probably work on your speed at which you grab things, potentially.
Yes, I should practice, you're right.
Although it did bite me.
I'm normally quite nimble. I don't know what was going on there.
Well, it was still entertaining, I suppose.
They seem like fairly friendly creatures. Another of the many myths of the swamps dissolved. We could write a passage about it. I'm sure many people in town would be eager to read the story of our swamp adventure.
I get concerned when he's typing.
I'm just updating my notes. Well, do you think they would let us explore that swamp? Potentially, maybe they need help with something.
The sprites seem friendly enough. The large creatures, though, the one after you had fell in battle, the one killed its friend, so I'm not entirely sure how intelligent those things are.
Sprites, are you still here?
No answer.
We could perhaps check in the morning, go back the way we came, and crack a joke or two. Perhaps you do one at my expense. For instance, I am short. You can run with that.
However, as you settle down to eat, are you eating this food?
Eating your crop?
Crock chops?
I'm eating around it.
So you're eating the mushrooms and rice?
Mushrooms and rice, yeah.
You'll notice that quite a few of the mushrooms seem to be missing.
You're not going to eat your chop there, are you?
Ah, hell. I'll have a piece, I suppose. So I'll taste it.
Just imagine it's the richest of beefs.
It's gamey, for sure. And it has a very strange, almost spiciness to it. Very similar to like a ginger or a horseradish spice. Not that it was seasoned, just the meat itself. It's not bad, but I mean, you're spoiled rotten, so that's up to you.
It's better than starving, I guess. Although, I'm not sure I would eat it all the time. It's definitely not worth 1 gold.
Very true. I once bought a crock chop for less than a silver. She was a lovely young lady.
I feel there's a story behind that needs to be told.
Well, yes, it was just outside of Tessia, you know. I don't know exactly how much you get out, given being the job, the occupation you have, probably bounds you to the city. But she's a lovely lady. Tessia is a fairly nice place. I haven't been there in several years, but there was a lovely young lady selling crock chops. Or maybe it's to say, I honestly didn't ask anyone who lived there.
Fucking stupid Mike. Tessia, either way. It works.
But the story's not very exciting beyond that. She sold crock chops. I bought one. I said, "Ooh, this is good value for your money." And she said, "That's why we do such good business." And I ate the crock chop, and then it was an awkward silence.
And by the way, I don't generally make fun of people's height.
Well, I feel a little bad. I've picked on you a bit today to try to bring the fairies into the conversation, or sprites, rather. Sorry if you're around, sprites. So, just saying, if you needed to, get a little venting on tomorrow, you can pick on me. I have a thick skin.
Well, I'm sure I'll find something to make fun of at some point. Like this hovel that we find ourselves in.
It is quite dingy for something that is a gold, is it not? I'm surprised at the level of dust here. I had to clean my workstation before I could even set out my contraptions.
Your workstation?
He's referring to the tabletop where he's been working on his shadow device.
Well, I suppose we should get some rest.
Sounds like a plan, and maybe don't bring up the housekeeping with our goblin friend. He might just charge us for it.
Right.
We'll just sleep in our filth and then be on our way.
Or somebody else's filth. Do you have any idea what goes on in these places?
I haven't exactly spent a lot of time in hostels in the swamps. I've made actually a strong attempt to avoid such situations. Tonight was brought on by the emergency of our circumstance. Yes, it is quite alarming. Bernard, break out the antiseptic, please.
It's probably a good idea.
Bernard will emit a fine mist of antiseptic and begin scrubbing down Neil's bedroll or whatever that bunk is.
And I'll just kind of laugh.
Like Lysol. This is just pure alcohol. Grain alcohol.
Would you like Bernard to clean your area as well when he is finished with mine?
Yes, that would be great.
Bernard, get Dezzen's when you're done, please.
I just kind of step aside with like a slight smile on my face.
Or
So
Bernard.
tomorrow, are we going back to the sprites or is it for ogre toenails?
Well, we can at least walk in the direction of the ogres. Potentially find something else.
That's a good idea. A bit of both. I like it.
Is my bed disinfected yet?
Yes, it appears he has finished. I'd give it maybe 30 seconds or so to dry. Unless you like moist sheets, I do not, but perhaps you do. You are a odd creature, or perhaps you're normal and I'm odd, I'm not really sure.
They do make your skin softer. Have you not heard of this?
Oh, moist sheets, They have some sort of effect the rich are using.
All the time.
Really?
I'm surprised you haven't heard of it.
Well, I only have loose affiliations with such creatures as Sitara or other gods. They don't share their lively, habits with me.
Perhaps not with antiseptic, but there are other things you could put on your sheets to smooth your skin.
Fascinating. Do you have any of these ingredients?
I don't, but perhaps we can find them in the swamp.
What do you know what they are? What sort of ingredients are we talking about?
Well, there is a specific type of mud I remember them using.
Mud in your sheets.
Well, you put it on your skin, of course. You could sleep with it on.
Oh, like some sort of a face mask kind of a situation?
Sure, but
I believe I've heard of that. Really, mud, you say? Fascinating.
specific types of mud with specific types of algae.
Well, if you see any of this, whatever, mud, let's get it.
I'll let you know. Good night, Neil.
Good night, Dezzen.
I turn around, kind of laughing to myself.
Oh god, the fuckery. Okay, so long rest, don't reset health. You technically have a healer's kit.
Right.
Whether or not you're proficient in it is a definite no.
I also do have alchemist supplies, by the way.
But are you proficient in alchemy kits?
That was something I never fleshed out fully before I made this character. I couldn't decide if he would have been taught anything about that kind of stuff. And I never spoke to you about it, but it was something that I kind of bounced around in my head.
It's one of the few things I am not proficient in.
Wow. I will say that, I mean, being that she's very wealthy, she probably wouldn't have had any use for you to be able to make those kinds of things.
Except I assumed because she knew what my condition was, that it might come in handy. That's kind of what the idea was.
Right, that makes sense. So, are we talking alchemy as in you can make healing potions, or alchemy like you can make your own antiseptic? What kind of alchemy are we talking here?
Probably more along the line of healing potions. I don't know how much practice I would have gotten with it.
Okay. So the biggest thing with if you have an alchemy kit and you want to make healing potions is it costs half the cost to create as to purchase.
Right.
So you would because you still have to buy the ingredients and all of that kind of thing.
Could we attempt to source any? Like, if he knows the ingredients, could we attempt to source them out in the wild?
I don't know how much you would have taught me either. Like, if you would have taught me, like...
I'm mostly asking out of curiosity. I'm not trying to meta. I'm just curious, like, if someone has an alchemy proficiency, how to use that profession.
Most of the time I would say maybe for the simple potions you would be able to easily identify the herbs as they're much more common, but that might be a book that you would need to purchase as far as like an herbology book to identify the rest of them, because you wouldn't have had a lot of free time to roam and try and find the ingredients on your own.
No. I just felt like the alchemy aspect might be something, like, in case I was out or she needed me to, like, this is how you at least make them. You know, whether or not I know where to find what it is, maybe not. But
yeah, I would say you'd probably easily be able to identify the ingredients needed for the regular healing potion.
Okay.
Maybe
just the common one. That's all I assumed it was.
Yeah, and then if you wanted to later on, you could get an herbology book, and maybe from an alchemist themselves who has written one, so you can start identifying the flowers of the more rare ones. But of course, they are more rare.
And keep in mind, we are doing a mission for an alchemist.
Right. I don't know if I would know anything about what they were trying to do, but yeah, I get your point.
Well, you know, Dezzen would know that he's an alchemist because you had met with him when we accepted the mission for the ogre toenails.
Yeah, so but I think my knowledge in alchemy would be pretty limited.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so if you decide to like go further along that path, then I would say, okay, cool, you can start looking for books, knowledge, that kind of thing, but that's totally up to what you think Dezzen would do.
I think he would have an interest in it only because, especially even after that fight, only because of what he's had to carry, what he was taught, knowing what the cost is. I think that's more what his interest would be in. It would be more of a practical interest. You know what I'm saying? Not so much like an interest in being an alchemist, but more a practical application of how do I keep myself alive more.
Right.
You know.
Right, because wouldn't this be a little scary for Dezzen, because he typically would have had Satara there to do some of that?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I say if you want to try and locate some of the more common flowers, you'd be able to along your travels.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we were talking about before, Austin, is that this is like his first time out without like having that presence, so it definitely is.
Yeah, you're doing a good job. I don't know much about your backstory, but I was already picking up on that.
Yeah. Cool.
So you are able to get some rest in. However, you are awoken just as the sun is lightening the sky. It hasn't even risen yet. By the Dezzen guard yelling and calling out orders to not only each other, but also to Glub.
Well, that's a rude way to awaken. Don't they know there's other guests in this hostel?
My experience with those types is they don't really care all that much.
Well, I guess this gets us on the road a bit earlier.
Would I know anything about the house that they're from?
Roll a history check for me. I have advantage.
Sure, I do. I do have advantage. 23.
So
Turns out you founded this order.
I know, right?
You remember in a dream.
So this would be Malik's house.
And what do I know about Malik?
For Malik, he is the god that sees the point in Dezzen, which is the northernmost area, of course. And here they train guards for his personal protection, but also for the Shadow Pit mines. And you also know that the guards are trained, they do have select guards that are sent out to collect the newest acquisitions that are used to mine in the Shadow Pit.
So do I know specifically, does anything ring a bell with these people about like how they generally act? Like, would I expect this from his people?
Not this specifically. I would say that they're usually very calm, very collected. They're almost robotic in their nature, as they are born, bred, and raised to do this job. So for them to be in any kind of uproar is a little unsettling.
Yeah, they're not usually this rambunctious.
Rambunctious.
I've seen the shadow mines. I can certainly understand their discomfort.
Well, I'm done sleeping in this bed. So
The good news is your antiseptic seemed to do the trick. I'm not itchy anywhere.
right. We'll have to look for that mud next time.
Yes, it does sound quite wonderful. Is it cooling, perhaps? I imagine mud would be quite cooling.
Yes, and it's great at repelling mosquitoes.
Fascinating.
Anyway, let's go see what's going on. Try not to interject, though. I don't want trouble with them. I don't want them to...
Oh, yes. I always keep my voice down around any sort of official-looking, army-looking fellow.
Well, I'm worried with what Satara was doing. That
Oh, yes.
They might be looking for people of her house as well.
Should you cover any of your markings?
I won't cover myself, but I'm not looking for trouble either.
Well, what if they're looking for you?
Well, at least there are no trees around.
Hey, I like that. That was very good. Apparently there are no sprites around, as I'm sure that would have gotten a couple chuckles.
Right. Let's go look.
So as you grab all of your things and begin making your way out of the room into the main hallway, into the front, you are stopped by a very prim-looking woman dressed in pristine armor. Were you here all night?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes, we had to clean our sheets, though, because they didn't look trustworthy.
Do you know anything about what happened with the cages?
Cages.
I don't
Cages.
know of any cages, and I don't know of what would have happened with cages. Mostly because I don't know what cages you're talking about.
Are you a tinkerer?
We prefer artificer, but yes, I tinker.
Are you missing any tools? Perhaps you left one behind.
Bernard, diagnostics check. I will ask Bernard if I'm missing any tools, which I would keep on Bernard.
You seem to be missing a couple.
Which ones?
It would be a screwdriver and some metal, like, tin snips.
Yes, my inventory does seem to have been stolen from. I'm missing a pair of tin snips and a screwdriver.
Well, we found your clippers. You must have left them behind. In the cages that you said that you knew nothing about.
I assure you I never leave my tools out. It is a great way to start rusting said tools. I had them on Bernard. We have encountered some shadow fairies, perhaps, sprites rather. Perhaps they took my tools in the night. They were quite interested in my belongings.
Shadow sprites. You're telling me that shadow sprites stole your tools? And cut a hole in the cage? It would not surprise me.
Well, the cutting the hole in the cage part I do find surprising, if I'm honest. But I certainly did not take the tools myself. I was resting with my friend here, who was gravely wounded by the creatures that we slain. And he'll, reveal the tails. He'll lift up the blanket of the tails on the back of Bernard. We slayed these creatures out in the swamp, and my friend was gravely injured in the process. You can see he's healing quite nicely.
Come with me.
Of course.
And she will lead you outside. And
I'll follow.
Good. Another guard, she'll just kind of wave over, and they will begin walking behind you. She will take you to the side of the building where there's two large wagons, and on these wagons are covered cages. And you see part of the cover of one of them torn, and now you can see the cage itself that wraps around these wagons, and it looks like something or someone had clipped some of these wires and opened not a large hole, quite small. This is where we found your clippers. Right here.
Well, I can certainly tell you that this is definitely a novice's work, wire cutting. They left several very pointy ends, you see. That could hurt someone.
Where are the children?
I don't know of any children. I didn't even know of these cages until you woke us this morning. We awoke to hear your voice. We've been sleeping ever since eating dinner last night.
You're quiet. Did you take the tools and do this?
I don't see how I would have any reason to, as I did not know they existed.
Did the inhabitants of these cells tell good jokes? That might be enough to get the sprites to bail them out.
I doubt it.
We noticed that the sprites were attracted to our joke telling. You see, I made several jokes at my friend's expense to test this theory, and it proved very valid. It's really quite amazing. They're invisible, so they could be there and you wouldn't even know it.
Can I tell what's underneath that wagon? Or what's in there?
Roll perception with advantage.
I do have advantage. 18.
You see a couple of huddled bodies within. A couple of people huddled within.
You mentioned you were missing children.
Yes. Apparently they were the only ones small enough to slip through. And they were not given enough time to cut a bigger hole.
Sounds like something sprite hands couldn't accomplish. Think of it, tiny hands, they can't cut that many things quickly.
Where is your cargo going?
To the point. Not that it much matters.
Did you not have guard?
They're in a cage in the swamp. Unfortunately, these children that you may or may not have let go will not survive long out here. So, these little fairies that you say you've been working with, I would suggest you find them.
Or what?
You look quite well off to be out here. What house do you belong to?
I belong to Sitara.
Do you? Well, isn't that interesting? Pavani, come here. We have people who need to be questioned. And what you both would probably recognize as the race of demigods. This young man will walk over. Well, I am supposed to ask you questions. I have no interest in doing this. I am in a hurry, and I don't like this place. And I don't care about the children, nor do I care about the guard's punishment for such a thing. However, I don't want to upset my uncle. So, question number 1. He will cast a spell. Are you going to resist?
No.
Hold on a second. I'm going to use my hybrid transformation.
What? Are you really?
Mm-hmm.
So you tell me exactly what this looks like.
Well, the biggest thing is they would see my eyes change. And that'd probably get, like, my posture would probably change a bit. Not so much hunched over, but it would definitely, yeah, I would say, like, it would, like, muscle tone would change and stuff like that.
Oh, not only are you part of her house, but you're one of her pets. You're loose. Look, really not necessary. I just have questions. So, is Dezzen going to resist?
He's kind of at a crossroads because he knows these are slaves. He was a child slave. But he still, like, kind of believes that he still belongs.
And then you were just called a pet?
Right.
Yeah, Neil's just a law-abiding citizen that assumes that these kids, are dangerous and need the torture devices.
How many guards are there? You said 5?
There are 5. And the demigod.
There is that. So the demigod is actually here?
Yeah, he is the one that was called forward to question you.
Would I know anything about their strength?
The demigods vary. Vastly so. It could be in metagaming anywhere from a level 1 to a level 20. Well, maybe not 20, maybe like 1 to 14 in their power. I mean, you can probably assume that he's here. You did hear him say that he's here to impress his uncle. Or he didn't want to let his uncle down, so he might not be very high up, but still it's... I don't know if Dezzen would think this is a fight.
Tell me. Do you know what happened to Sitara?
Who are you asking? Are you asking the woman, or are you asking Kavani?
Kavani.
I've been away for weeks. What happened to Savannah? Or I don't know why that name doesn't stick in my head.
Have the guards been around, or have they been gone for just as long?
Yes. We had to gather the acquisition. Dissidents from the Northwest. And also some that showed up on a shipwreck. Well, the questions about Sitara. What has happened?
I'm not sure. Go ahead and cast your spell. Let's get this over with.
Right. So he'll cast a spell, still with a questioning look on his face. Did you have anything to do with the release of the slaves?
It sounds like my tools were stolen from me and used, but outside of that, I had nothing to do with it personally.
No.
Do you know anything about where the children have gone?
No.
No.
Do you have any information that will aid us in finding them?
I strongly suspect it to be the sprites.
So the sprites are real. That's good to know.
Yes.
Next question. What happened to Sitara?
She had a meeting and told me to leave.
I met my friend here, Dezzen, and we have been sent on a mission to get ogre toenails for an alchemist, but that has nothing to do with her, so I don't know anything beyond that outside of our meeting.
She didn't tell me anymore.
And your name was Dezzen.
Yes?
I don't believe I've seen you in court before. Probably not.
Well, I don't believe I was ever at court.
But he does know a lot about mud, which I don't think the lay person knows a lot about, so that can speak to his honor.
Burn it down. I do not question that he is of Satara's house. She's a collector of kinds. My main concern is that you are not with her, which means you are either a favorite or the exact opposite. Which was it?
Well, she always referred to me as her favorite.
And he did come bearing some artifacts. I've done some business with Satara over the years, and we had a business exchange, and he was representing her and had the artifacts on her behalf and accepted payment on her behalf.
He'll look over at the woman. Hana, go. We do not need to trace these children. We don't have time for that. Let me speak to these two in private. He'll salute and walk away. Satara was one of my favorite cousins. I will ask my uncle about this. And your name, Tinker?
Oh, well, I'm sure you've seen my establishment. Passing through town, perhaps in a glance, you saw our wonderful sign with the bleeding diamond. I am, of course, Cornelius Fabblestabble. You may call me Neil, owner and curator of Fabblestabble's Fabulous Baubles.
I'm sure I have.
Sitar is a longtime customer. I always welcome any of the demigods. I am an expert at procurement. I can get you any sort of rare belongings or perfect inventions for you. I have a rich history with the demigods of our lovely city of Dezzen.
I may just take you up on that. There's quite a few things I wouldn't mind having procured.
Great. Marcy is my chief of staff there. She's the general manager when I'm away on adventures like we are now. So please feel free to let Marcy know that I sent you, and she will make sure you have anything you need.
Marcy. Got it. Would she be somebody safe to leave a message with?
Certainly. She's my most trusted friend.
Dezzen. May I borrow your blood?
For what?
To ensure any message that I send can only be opened by you.
Sure.
So he'll hold out his hand, awaiting...
Actually, I'm going to insight check him.
Okay. With advantage.
No advantage.
Oh. Oh.
Still rolled an 18.
Fuck.
Even with a -1.
Of course.
Get it.
There seems to be a lot going on behind this guy's intention. Nothing that would necessarily... He was telling the truth when he said that Satara was one of his favorite cousins. But you get the idea that he may have some of the same leanings as her, as far as a shift in the paradigm, so to say. So, the blood... He will be using it on a message, for sure. Perhaps something else as well.
How did you spell his name again?
Kavoni, Kavoni. Night Sympaticos, thanks so much for hanging out. Sleep well, my darling.
Good night, Sympaticos.
Waiting for your hand.
Excuse me, I mean no offense. Is it okay if I confer with my friend for a moment?
I suppose so. Must understand I'm not used to being denied.
I
Especially
don't think
from-
there's a denial here. We're mostly wanting to align that we're protecting Satara, which, being that she's one of your favorite cousins, I'm sure you can understand our moving slowly to make sure we are making the correct moves to protect her.
As you wish.
I'm not sure Satara would want me to share my blood, even with you.
So
I mean-
if Neil wants to pull Dezzen away for a moment, you can do that.
Up to you.
No.
You can decide to push through it or not. It's fine.
I mean no offense, of course. Her research was just secret, something she was proud of.
Interesting that you would say that. Well, I will not force you. And that you are still being compelled to tell the truth. I will accept it as such. Just understand I will not be able to send you any detail without ensuring that the message will only be able to be read by you.
I understand.
Thank you for being so forthcoming, Dezzen. And Mr. Neil, Cobblestubble. I will be sending... I know, it's so hard to say with a straight face. I will be sending a few requisitions. I do hope that you are
Very
able
good.
to deliver.
I realize I may not be trusted with the same level of information, but please feel free to let Marcy know if you need something communicated that you would trust to me. She would gladly protect it and would not open it for anyone.
Of course. I will do that. Come across any of the children. He'll just kind of look around to ensure no guards are close. See them to safety, please. Good luck on your travels.
Well, thank you.
And he will walk away. So y'all are free to resume your travels through the swamp. Tim has his ears in, but he drank like a gallon of water when he got home.
Would Neil have seen kids in the Shadow Mines all those years ago when he was venturing out of the Underdark?
No, nothing younger than 14.
And then would his understanding, at least from what I read, but I could have read it wrong, would Neil have thought that the Shadow Mines was a place that people who couldn't do anything else worked there? Like either prisoners or
Yes.
Criminals.
Tim just scared the shit out of Ari. That's so
Intentionally?
funny. Yeah, for sure. She does it to us all the time. She'll hide around corners or whatever.
Oh, gotcha.
They would. So
basically what I'm getting at is this Neil's first interaction with something weird going on with the Shadow Mines?
Being that you came from within the Shadow Mines, you would have seen miners, you would have seen guards. And you also would have seen a fighting force just kind of awaiting any kind of attack. Though the fighting force was not there for the slaves themselves, they seem to be there for something completely different, though you may not have seen them engage in anything.
So it's up until this point, I feel like Neil would have a perception of the Shadow Mines as us versus the darkness, and feeling a genuine unity with whatever forces of Desmond were there. And I think this interaction would leave him questioning that a little bit.
It probably would.
Okay.
Your understanding of the way it's portrayed within society is that it is people who have tried to invade the land of Shiadeon, either by force or they people who have fought against the demigods and gods themselves, dissidents, people who have spoken out about the gods and demigods. Those kinds of people are very much frowned upon and almost like cheered when they are sent to the point. And eventually, like, to the point and to the heights.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Like rotten fruit type thing, you know, thrown at the bad guys as they make their way through. So they don't really make their way through most of the city. Just in case. So is there a conversation going on as you make your way through the remainder of the paved and bridged path through the remainder of the swamp?
Dezzen? Oh, go ahead.
I think we should try to find those kids before we go too far.
I was thinking the same thing. I was also thinking that the sprites we met seemed pretty friendly, so if there were children in need, I would like to think the sprites would help them out of a sense of goodness. So perhaps it's time for you to make a few jokes at my expense, friend? I can easily come up with jokes about you, but I think we've explored that road a bit too much. I want to go easy on you.
Let's take one thing at a time. Let's try to trace where the kids might have gone.
Oh, well, I'm not an expert tracker, but if you have that skill set, then by all means, that might be more effective than trying to get the sprite's attention.
With advantage.
I have advantage.
Of course you do.
I'm shit at it, but like it's a -1, so I have no bonus to it.
But sometimes you just, you're real bad at it, but you can look twice.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's rained since then, so perhaps we can track footprints.
Oh my god, nat 20, 28.
What the fuck? Fuck.
So now that he mentions it, and I get off the finding the sprite by telling jokes thought train, I start looking around the cages, and I'm investigating anything.
Okay, so first things first. You begin looking around the cages. You will be shooed off. However, being that you both know that the sprites were from the south of the bridge itself, you kind of meander down the pathway like you're leaving, and then take a little detour and come back around. Neil definitely is the first one to notice tiny footprints off and on through the swamp. Some of it, of course.
These look like they could be children's steps, which already ruled out my first theory that these sprites could carry them. Have you not heard that children's tale where the groups of sprites carry the children?
No, I've never heard that.
It's a lovely tale of Peter Pot, I believe.
Right.
So
Next time I'm in the library, I'll make sure to look that up.
We have a copy in the store in our children's book section. Come to think of it, I should move it further from the torture section.
I'll just kind of laugh, snicker at that as we're walking.
So, of course, being in the swamp, the footprints do seem to disappear around puddles and that kind of thing. So it's not that long. you can't imagine that the children have gone very far. So, are we going to continue searching, or are we going to try and lure out the fairies? The sprite.
I'm thinking if I turn on my device for a few moments, it will be annoying enough to draw them here, and then we turn it off and we have their attention. That is a plan. What do you think, Dezzen?
Didn't they say it hurt their ears?
Well, I've calibrated it lower since that feedback, so I'm hoping it will only be a brief nuisance and will serve as a sort of, sounding horn, which would be very aggravating if you were right next to it, but hopefully it's just attention distance.
Or we could just ask for them.
Well, I must say I'm a bit taken aback at how logical your suggestion was, that we should try that first.
So I'll just kind of call out.
What are you calling out?
It's just kind of hello, maybe? Sprite folk.
Sprite folk?
Like hello, Sprite folk? Are you here?
If this doesn't work, you need to start thinking of your joke.
You kind of don't hear anything.
Oh, Jesus. Jokes, right.
I have 7 ready in case you're drawing a blank.
Go ahead.
Oh, noble sprites of the swamp, would you like to know the difference between my friend Neil here and the guards that were guarding those children that you saved? The difference is, there's no difference. They're both terrible at their jobs.
You don't get a response. But as you continue following the tracks, you hit another, pretty mossy area. A lot of peat, quite wet, and the footprints seem to disappear. You continue chatting as Dezzen is calling out, trying to pick the footprints back up. Until suddenly you are surrounded as little shadows flitter from hiding behind small shrubs, trees, and they all appear, and about a dozen of them are surrounding you, with their tiny little bows up.
Neil,
Yes?
are you not afraid that they're going to carry you off?
Well, I saw their footprints up until now, so I don't believe if they could carry a small child that they'd be able to carry me. But that was a halfway decent joke. What you need is a hook next time. You need something like, hey, Neil, do you know the difference between a child and you? And I would go, oh, I don't know what. And you would say, a child weighs more. Something like that.
One of the sprites giggles, a little laugh that you recognize.
Right. I'll practice.
I told you these weren't the ones they're not the bad guys. They're not the bad guys. They just haven't done anything. And one of them flies up into your face, Neil. And this one seems to have tiny little metal armor on. So cute. Like the captain
Hello
of the
there.
Shadow Sprites. You were with the bad guys that kidnapped the children.
It is true. We were with them. It was in a lodging place where anyone's allowed to stay for respite. We since learned that they are quite shady characters, and we came into the forest to see if there is any aid that we could lend you with the children that we learned you had freed.
You didn't free them.
Do you know who did?
The big ones in the cages did. He just gave him the tool to do it.
Oh, that makes sense. Are the children safe?
Of course the children are safe. What do you think we're going to do? Eat them? Don't.
No, no, there's just the very large, scary creatures that didn't seem very intelligent, and we didn't want the kids to fall into any accidental harm.
We would never allow those creatures to eat these children. What do you think
very
of us?
good. Well, it isn't what we thought of you. We just knew that if the children needed our assistance, it was up to us to help. But it seems that I'll look towards Dezzen. They seem to be in quite capable hands.
What do you plan on doing with them?
We don't know, really. Honestly, we're going to keep them safe. That's what we're going to do. They're just little things. I mean, bigger than us, but they're still just little things. We don't know what we're going to do with them yet. We're just keeping them safe.
It's just like Peter Pot.
Peter Pot. Son of a bitch.
Nice. What are you going to do with them?
May I speak to them?
What are you going to do with them? Are you going to sell them? Are you going to eat them? You look really odd.
I would not sell children. Can I speak to them, please?
We're just learning about the children even being in the cart in the first place. I think my friend wants to speak to the children to make sure if they had any questions or assistance we could offer, that we could offer it to them directly.
Ollie. They're not going to eat them? No, they're not going to eat them, but they might tell them some really good jokes. I mean, there's that. Maybe it'll make them smile. Right. Okay. Fun. And they will lead you just on the other side of the peat, where there seems to be a fairly large grouping of rocks, and the children are sitting underneath it. A little wet, a little muddy. Oh. Are you going to take us back? We don't want to go back. Please don't take us back.
Where are you from?
Far away. We don't belong here. We were taken a long time ago. We've been sent from one place to another.
Were the adults who freed you with the help of the sprites, were those your parents?
No.
Oh.
Do I have any markings on me that they would recognize as being like?
These kids probably not. I mean, there's 3 of them, anywhere from 4 to 8.
So we've established you don't want to go back. Living in a swamp with these wonderful sprites will be an adjustment. Is there anything you would like? Is there any place? It sounds like you're from far away, so perhaps home is out of the question, but is there any place you would like to go?
Neil.
Yes.
They would probably be safer here than in any city.
Well, I know, but it seems like they've had their voice taken from them. I'm just simply letting them choose their own futures. They might say the same, but I want it to be their decision, not ours.
What are your names?
My name is Seven.
What's your real name?
Doll.
stall.
Yeah. We're not
Do you
supposed to use our names.
Do you want to stay here?
I don't know what to do. It's a little strange. Not being told where to go and what to do all the time.
I always found that if I had something to do, perhaps you can help them. The sprites, that is.
Yeah, we can do that.
They like jokes. Perhaps if you know a few.
We know some that the guards used to say before we came here. But I don't think we were supposed to repeat those either.
Oh, no, not those kind of jokes. We're talking about funny jokes, you know? Ones that everyone can get. Like, knock, knock. You say who's there?
Who's there?
Interrupting cow. Then you say interrupting cow who?
What's an interrupting cow?
Moo! You get it? It's a cow that interrupts.
You hear a couple of giggles from the fairies or from the sprites. Oh. Oh. That's kind of funny.
And just the demigod person I ran into,
Mm-hmm.
Cavani, he did say to us to not let them come back, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he said to ensure their safety, that they were not returned to the wagon.
A side question, did they let me get my tools back? Or am I shortchanged a pair of tin snips and a screwdriver?
You're shortchanged a pair of tin snips and a
God damn
screwdriver.
it.
Yep. 1 gold.
Sprite folk.
Yeah.
Do you know how to care for children?
Nope, but we know somebody who does. You think? I mean, it kind of, they kind of look like, kind of not really like you, but similar to you. He's big.
Do they live close?
No, but we can still get them there. It's not a problem.
And you trust this large person?
It did, Monkey. Well, of course we trust him. I mean, he keeps us safe this whole time. He's always kept us safe.
Hmm.
Not very funny, but he's still pretty. I mean, he's kept us safe. He's kept the swamp safe. He kind of. I mean, he built this thing most of the time. Well, I think he built. He said he built it. He probably built it.
Interesting. What do you think, Dezzen?
I think this is probably the safest place for them.
Certainly safer than anything I could provide. Marcy, she's very busy with the business. I wouldn't want to impose a group of children on her.
No.
I'm a little nervous about this tall man who keeps the fairies safe, which is a good sign. but not
I know anything
necessarily
about what it would be?
qualification.
Roll history
With advantage.
with advantage.
Yeah, I guess I'll do the same since I traveled through the swamps before.
Okay.
20.
Okay.
Nat 20, 25.
God.
Wow.
So y'all would have different information. Neil, your main information would be that there is multiple different fairy tale type stories from the swamps. One of them, of course, is very much like the old woman who lived in a shoe type thing. But there were other older ones that spoke of a great lichen prince who rules over the entire swamp, created every creature who lives within, and guards over it from his magical cave. Dezzen, you would know it to be one of the gods. Who did create the swamp. But this is his area to oversee and rule, as the gods of the city have their areas and their places to oversee and rule. This is the last place of protection before you enter the city, for those who live within.
Would I know how old they would have to be before they were people were no longer interested in trading them?
The children?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with age.
Okay.
It doesn't. It just has to do with where they're from, how they made it there. Probably what happened is, from what you can understand, like wherever he was from, he was captured there and then traded a couple of times until they made their way here. So right. It could have, now if they were a resident and kept their heads low, they probably would have never ended up here.
Well,
I don't know how y'all meet that information, but that's just the.
I think I want to ask the sprites. Where I want to go with it.
Okay.
But if Dezzen wanted to talk first, it sounded like you had something to.
No, I don't think so. Go ahead.
This tall man of the swamps sounds like one of the books we have on our shelves about the Lichen Prince. Sprites, does that name sound familiar?
Yeah, that's him. Of course that's him. Why wouldn't it be him?
Oh, well, I wasn't sure. Having never met the prince, I wasn't sure. He sounded so amazing that, to be honest, I wasn't sure if he was real. So this is wonderful to hear that he exists. And certainly, Dezzen, in the company of such a marvelous creature as a Lichen Prince, I think these children will be far safer than anywhere else I can think of.
Yes, I agree.
And I guess I'll double check this first. No stories of the Lichen Prince eating children.
No. And probably the book that you would have would be. It wouldn't even be like a children's fairy tale. It would be like a fantasy adult novel type. That's how it would be written.
But he's a good guy in it.
He's a good guy in it.
Okay, cool. All right. I'm very curious now. Does the Lichen Prince have a name other than the Lichen Prince? Like I could be called the wonderful purveyor and acquirer for Fabble Stabbles Fabulous Bobbles, but my name's Neil.
No, not that we know of anyway, because we don't have to ask him his name. We rarely even talk to him, honestly.
Oh. Very well. Is there anything we can do to help with this journey that you must take to take the children to the Lycan Prince?
What do we feed them?
You know, the stuff that I was fed at the goblins.
Oh yeah, that was really good. That was fantastic. The mushrooms, right? But they were cooked. Brilliant.
Yeah, don't feed them that.
Oh. Okay, so what do we feed him?
I don't know if they have quite the royal menu you're used to, Dezzen. Perhaps crock chops will do.
Right. Yes, just make sure it's cooked thoroughly. You do know how to use fire, don't you?
Are you seriously asking me that question? How dumb do you think we are? Just because we're tiny doesn't mean that we're dumb.
No, I did not think you were dumb. I just know nothing about your kind.
Of course we know how to use fire.
Good.
Sorry, it's purely ignorance on our parts. I would have echoed his question. Perhaps you are beyond fire and use some other amazing means by which to do the things that we have to use fire for.
I mean, we know how to burn things.
Good enough for me.
Right. So,
Children.
yeah.
Keep yourselves busy with jobs. You're safe here.
Okay. I'm sure we can learn to do something.
And I would be careful. I would be careful as you age. You might desire to come back to Desme or explore. There is danger there. I'm not sure if you are somehow linked to the land you came from in a way that they can detect you and capture you again. I'm not sure. I'm just simply saying be careful if you are to leave the Lycan Prince.
Okay.
Well, Neil, shall we get back to the road?
I'm struggling to remember. I felt like beyond the children there was something we wanted to talk to the fairies about. Oh yes, noble sprites. We also feel very badly about our first interaction, and we wanted to make amends by way of offering our services. Is there anything that you, the noble sprites of these swamps, need assistance with?
Well, not that we know of.
Well, that's all I could think of. Dezzen, seems like they're all good to go.
Good. Let's wipe out the footprints as we're going back.
Very smart. Bernard, sweep procedure 1358, please.
Of course. Okay.
Bernard's back leg will just kind of shimmy behind you, just mucking up everything.
Very nice. So, you make your way back through the swamp. You will be escorted by Ollie and his friend. They are just following along anxiously, hoping for, something interesting to happen. But if nothing is said, they will leave you at the road. The little...
I mean, I think Neil will just be telling them dad jokes. I don't think he'd be asking them any questions, but Dezzen might feel differently.
No, I probably would be asking them questions.
Okay.
I'd be shaking my head at Neil the whole time.
You would get light giggles and chuckles along the way. But as you get close to the road, Ollie will... Well, it was fun, and have a great travel. I will maybe see you again. And don't, just be careful when you're in the swamp. That's all I got. Bye!
That makes me think. Noble sprite, clad in the glorious armor, are you still here?
Oh, no. She's back with the kids.
Oh, I thought Ollie was one of the kids. I got confused.
No, Ollie is the sprite who probably stole your shit.
Oh, the familiar one. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Before you leave, Ollie, real curious. We've never met the Lycan Prince. Is there some way, if we wish to visit you or the kids again there, is there some way we know how to reach that area or contact him?
Oh, no. You would never need to contact him. That would just be... No, that's against all the rules. You can't do that. But, I mean, I could probably smell you both a little, like 10 miles away, so there's that.
Okay, so we just head to the southmost part of the swamp and you'll smell us? Does that sound right?
I believe she's trying to say we need to take a shower. Or bath, rather.
They might have entirely different nasal capabilities. It could be simply our own pheromones that they're detecting. I shower regularly, thank you, friend.
Have you smelled yourself recently?
I suppose I have not showered in a while. Very well, I see your point. Alright, so fine. Step 1, don't shower. Step 2, do we go to the southmost part of the swamps and you will smell us?
Don't go that way. Don't go that far in. You won't survive no matter what we do, really.
Okay, so where do we go for you to smell us?
The dirty goblin, his little area, and you can just hide, a mile in or so after that, and we'll be able to find you.
Easy. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Shall we?
Hi. And Ollie and his friend will zoom off, go do their little shadow sprite things. Immediately, of course, go invisible. So, along the road, again, on your way to Strasme, which, of course, in Tiffany style, anything that ends in me is going to be a part of the greater city and some sort of main city or capital. So, on your way to Dezzen, on your way to Strasme, along the main road, you do pass quite a few people who seem to be coming into the city, and you do see others behind you, some passing you on horses, some passing you in carriages, conspicuously close to Strasme, maybe. There's a lot of little hidden nuggets in that map.
I'm mostly concerned about the Stelmy crater.
Yeah? Wait a second. The crater.
What happened to the crater?
Yeah. I mean, what did happen in the crater? That's an interesting little thing over there.
After the toenails.
After the toenails. So, it seems to be, Neil, you would recognize quite a few of these, maybe not the people themselves, but there are multiple different wagons that are allowed to go into the city for trade goods, and then those that have been vetted in Strasme are allowed to pass through for travel vacationing even, or trade for themselves. They're buying, selling stuff, whatever it is.
Does anybody stand out from those sort of categories that I'd be used to? Anything catch my eye as an unusual thing to see on the trade route?
Roll perception for me.
19.
Through most of the day, no. However, late in the evening, because y'all kind of got distracted with the kids, I would say it'll probably be it'll be much past sunset by the time you get to Stresme. A group of riders will pass by quite quickly, and you notice that not only are they hooded, but they're also strangely dressed. So they don't seem to be causing any kind of concern. They're at a fast trot.
Can you tell me any more about the strange dress?
The cloaks seem to be very sand-colored, whereas here you're used to seeing very colorful. Everything here is very colorful. If people are going to and from Desme, they're either wealthy, well-off, nobility, demigods. Hi, Tulin. I love that sound, by the way. But it's very colorful. Everything is very colorful. They seem to be very drab. The horses themselves, even, are definitely not the same kind of like pinto or spotted kind that you usually see in these areas. They seem to be Tulin. They seem to be shorter, a little bit stockier, wider.
Would Neil recognize him from anywhere in his life? Would he have seen anything like this before?
I'm trying to think. Roll history with advantage.
I don't have advantage.
I'm at a dozen.
Oh yeah, with advantage.
22 for me.
I got a 21.
Fuck you both.
Oh shit.
Rolling good tonight. I'll take it.
I haven't rolled above a 10.
Do you need me to roll Arcana? I could roll that with advantage as well.
No.
Okay.
I don't need you to roll fucking Arcana.
Do you need me to roll Religion? I can roll that with advantage as well. For whatever reason.
Dude, that's fucked up.
It is. He has advantage on so many things. Like
Is that like is that a class thing?
Part of it is. A couple of them are, and then the rest of them are. I don't know, what are the rest of them from? Would you like Arcana? No. Just no. For sure. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I didn't even like intentionally do any of that. It's just once I finished making my character, I for some reason had all these advantages, and there's like outside of the backstory thing, like the what do they call that? When you're doing it's like the very end stuff you pick, origin or whatever, that kind of end thing. Those are the only two I actually picked. The rest of them I think are just tied to my class. It's really weird.
You want a min-max? We have an overlay from D&D Beyond. Just click on his character sheet. Apparently, Bloodhunter. It'll eventually come up in the center.
What I lack in durability, I gain in a bunch of knowledge, I suppose.
Yeah, his character sheet just says has advantage.
Yeah, on everything.
So anyways.
Right.
Neil.
22 and 21. I would say for Neil, you would have seen them maybe in all your years in the city twice. Maybe twice. They are from very, very far to the west. And they only come for something very specific. You never really knew what it was, but just asking around, it was always an anomaly that they were there. and they always headed through the main city very quickly. They were never guarded, however, but they made their way straight through the city, never stopped, and from what you understand, they would go straight to the grove. It didn't matter the time of day, nothing. Dezzen, I would say there would be one time where you would have gone to the area to the west, to Uospora that are, I'm taking out still, I haven't done that yet, obviously, to pick up an item with your master, with Sitara. You would know that these people are very, very private. The only reason that she was allowed there is because she was paying very, very well in some kind of drug that these people held sacred. And they would be lizard folk. They do not allow outsiders. They only come into the city for very specific reasons, and they rarely talk to anyone.
Would I know what they usually go to the city for?
No, that you would not know, because you would not have
Right.
engaged with them inside the city. You would have just gone there to trade for something specific that she wanted, and she had what they wanted.
Right. Neil,
that-
I have a question for you.
All right.
How much are you getting paid for these ogre nails?
I didn't ask Marcy. She said it was very well paying, and that was good enough for me, but I'm not sure exactly.
Right. Just seems like an awful lot of traveling for...
Such is the life of an adventurer. You get used to the road. Most things worth acquiring aren't just outside your door. They usually incur a bit of an adventure like this. Did you see those curious riders? I've only seen them a handful of times in my life. They're very interesting. It makes me nervous, given what we encountered earlier today, that there are children being sent to the mines, and now these mysterious riders that I know come for only specific purposes, but I don't know what those purposes are.
Yes, they're lizard folk. They're typically very private. Not
Well,
sure
those are-
what they're doing here.
Those are lizard folk. Oh, amazing. I've not met a lizard folk.
I don't know if I've ever seen them outside of their home city.
Well, I've seen those riders a few times in my life. It's very rare that they'd be out like this. Do you think it's connected to Sitara somehow? Did Sitara have some sort of allyship or something with the lizard folk? Or perhaps enemies?
She traded with them from time to time, but I'm not sure about alliance. Either way, the day that I left, it didn't seem like she was interested in putting up a fight against whatever she was up against.
Perhaps it's nothing then. I'm being overly paranoid. So back to your earlier question, are you feeling nervous having been away from Desme this long? You ask if this is quite a long adventure. I just want to make sure we're not keeping you from something you feel is important.
No, I never spent much time in Desme. I was based in the city. That's where I was kept.
Isn't Desme the city?
No.
No, he was... Oh, thank you, baby. Yeah, because we never decided on the city name, you can come up with one or we can come up with one later. I would say...
Oh, Desme's the name of the empire?
No, Desme's the name of the main city here, but him and Sitara did not spend a lot of time here. She only came when she had to.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay.
He doesn't much care for the way things are run.
I see.
I
Well,
was only curious because it seems like a lot of time spent for some toenails.
if I know Marcy, these are quite special toenails that we've arranged a deal for, so it should be worth our time.
I don't know, perhaps it's... Perhaps it's freedom I'm feeling. I'm not sure.
Well, I'll tell you, that's part of why I adventure in the first place. Here we are getting toenails. Ooh, toenails. Ew, yuck. Ooh, I don't want to do that. But look at what we accomplished along the way already. We've met some amazing sprite folk that we wouldn't have otherwise. Sadly, we killed a couple, but it seems like they're regrowing, so that's good. We have our wonderful tales of these exotic creatures that we can sell for a profit. And we've saved some children on top of all that. Well, we didn't directly save them, but had my tools not been there, they would not have gotten saved. This is the way adventures work, my friend. That's why you must be out on the road. This is the only way to get things done.
Yes, no, I just meant I feel more the pull of away from the road. Not running errands.
Oh, well, I mean, yes, I see what you're saying there. And I've gone off mission my handful of times, so if there's something that sounds more exciting than the toenails, we can always get to them later. Shipley's fairly patient. It's not like he could get them on his own.
Well, I would hope so. It's going to take us quite a while to walk back to the city.
And for being a Goliath, he's actually quite slow. You'd think with that height advantage he could move quickly, but he's surprisingly slow.
And how far away are the ogres at this point? Do you know?
We'd be about a day's journey away at this point, maybe 2. Depending on how many children we save along the way, of course.
And have we decided how to get these toenails?
We had 2 plans. 1, offer them shinies and see if they would exchange toenail clippings. Or, if that doesn't work, you claimed your rapiers had some sort of cutting ability and we'd have to take them by force.
My scimitars are swords, so yes, they can cut.
Oh, scimitars, sorry.
I only ask because it seems we have lost our shears.
Oh, the tin snips. I did not think I had not retrofitted them for such a task. Perhaps they would have worked. I was really counting on either the ogre's generosity or your scimitars.
Well, right. Well, we saw how that went the first time, didn't we?
I have faith in you, friend. You were surprised by that tree. It was a tree, after all. Who expects a tree to come at them?
Fair enough. It still doesn't make me feel better.
I was just trying to get the fairy's attention earlier. I think you have already shown some impressive shape-shifty prowess that I can't wait to see in the throes of battle.
Well, unfortunately, I'll have to rest before I can get the shape-shifty prowess back. As you so
Oh,
eloquently put.
so you're kind of a one-and-done kind of a werewolf, are you?
It's too bad the sprites aren't here to hear that one.
Yeah, that one was purely for our benefit.
I see. One day, perhaps I shall catch on.
I'm sure it's just rustiness, You've lived a fairly pampered existence for a few years now with Sitara, but it seems like you've had impressive battle training. I'm sure it will come back.
Right. So do we go to the city?
Strasme is a lovely place. I'd say I defer to what you feel comfortable with. You may want to enjoy the sights there briefly as we travel through. Seems you might also be interested in their healing potions.
Yes, and I'd like to shop for a book too. I was taught very little about alchemy. I'd like to read a bit more.
There might be something like that there. Certainly worth a brief detour.
I will. You said we're still. How far away from the city are we?
I mean, we can say with this chat and whatever. Could have arrived at the gates.
Okay.
You are in queue to enter.
Anything Neil would know that he'd want to tell Dezzen about, like, the culture here, weird security, that kind of stuff?
Technically there's nothing strange here. However, to get within the city, you have to have documents. To get between Desme and Strasme, you will always be given a document from Desme to get into Strasme as a clearance, unless you are a resident there, and if you own a business, you have papers of trade that you have to show at the gate. And then to get back through, you have to be either vetted within the city to get to Desme, or you have to have the same papers of trade or residency within Desme, if that makes sense.
Would my papers be good enough for Dezzen? I feel like Neil would carry these given his traveling for himself, but I'm nervous about Dezzen.
I would say yes. Mainly because somehow it ended up canon when you talk to Shipley that you've had multiple different people that you've tried out as adventuring partners.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine just given his age, he would have had his handful of different partners.
Yeah, so it would be fine for y'all.
Here, Dezzen, these are papers. You just need to show them as we come and go. They're very tight with security here.
Sure. Thank you.
And if they ask for place of employment, remember Fabbles, Dabbles, Fabulous Bobbles.
Am I employed by you now?
Technically.
Good.
Okay, so you wait in queue and are met at the gate. And of course, within the gate, there's 2 rooms set aside. Everybody has to talk to somebody. You show your documents. You are ushered through into the city of Strasme. Now, Strasme itself, right past the gate, has, of course, a large keep, though it seems quite relaxed within the city. And you pass the area where those who are traveling through Strasme to Desme are currently camped, awaiting their turn in queue. Looks like some of these traders have been here for a couple of days, waiting for clearance. That's a thing that happens. However, after you make it past the large camping grounds and waiting areas, you find yourself in a beautiful, well-constructed, landscaped city. It is almost as beautiful as the area around the large mansions and homes of the important people in Desme Park. The main strip is lined with flowering trees, beautiful shrubs, and dotted with fountains. On either side are storefronts who have been brightly painted, mostly not in clashing colors, but sometimes it seems to have gotten by the HOA. And you'll have, a yellow next to a purple, and it kind of, hurts the eyes a little bit, but for most part, they're, well laid out colors. And you are free to find an inn. It is fairly late at this time, since we had to go chase down some kids beforehand.
Neil,
Mm-hmm.
we should try to find somebody that would buy these tails.
Oh, it's a good idea. Might need the income on the road.
This
I'm
city
not-
is well equipped. I'm sure
not
there's somebody here that would like them.
Is it too late, or the store still open at this point?
I would say
Probably not.
no. I would say the only thing that you really see open are going to be like coffee shops, tea shops,
It's a good
places to
idea
eat.
for the morning, then.
Neil,
I'm still right here. You don't have to say my name. I'm right here.
I'm sorry. I need to break that habit. Have you ever had coffee?
Have I had coffee? Why do you think I'm so short? No, I'm kidding. That's a gnome joke. Yes, I've had coffee a few times.
I'm gonna go get a cup.
Well,
I bet it's cheaper than a gold this time.
let's hope so, or it better be damn good coffee.
What are you eating? Oh, hummus and pita chips.
Make sure to get decaf, Dezzen. It's quite late and we have an early morning.
At one 24-hour pharmacy that Fabble Stebble still hasn't picked up his meds yet.
Right?
His high blood pressure meds. Okay, so you find the first coffee shop you pass, Java's Delight. And welcome to the Starbucks of D&D. You walk in, you hear from the back.
I'll take a plenty caramel latte, please.
Welcome to Java's Delight. And this place, you literally yell your order. As Neil has done. Gotcha. Coming up. For you, sir.
You have to yell it. Use your big voice.
Just a simple coffee, please.
You have to say the size.
Simple coffee.
Right. I forgot the size.
So they have enough, plenty, or you gotta have it.
A big gulp of coffee is what you're saying?
Well, that's the you gotta have it. I got a plenty. It's the middle size.
So I'm just kind of eyeing him as I say this. A large one.
Well, you're gonna get some eye rolls for that. They don't use normal terminology.
Helps if I don't keep myself muted.
Did I get eye roll?
Yeah, you got eye rolls. All right, we got a newbie here. We need.
He means he wants it. Gotta have it. That's what he wants.
Gotta have it. Black coffee. All right, move over to the. You can pay over there. And they'll start your coffees, and it will be one silver.
Don't say one gold. God,
No. We'll just make it easy. A silver apiece.
I'll buy your coffee, Dezzen.
No, I'm good.
Oh, this is that
I
awkward
insist.
moment. Yeah.
No. I insist.
Very well.
As you're checking out, there's a variety of pastries, light sandwiches, and breads. So, do you want any of our wonderful pastries to go with that? Maybe a cookie? Perhaps a donut? Or a sandwich? You look well traveled. Maybe you're hungry.
No,
What type
I'm
of
headed.
sandwiches do you have?
None for me, thanks. I have to watch the acid.
Of course. We have a wonderful chicken salad sandwich.
with cranberries.
And walnuts.
Perfect. I'll have one of those too.
All right. 1 silver. I've been raping him pretty hard on the money, guys.
I'm not buying your sandwich. You have to get that on your own. We're over my per diem.
I was just gonna ask. Very well.
All right. So your sandwich is pulled out of the cold case. You are handed a little sandwich. Not really. Out of a cold case. You are handed a sandwich on fresh baked rye bread, as you do. And after a few moments, you both receive your coffees. I mean, it's a plain coffee. Dezzen.
Ah, damn, I forgot to ask for decaf. I'm going to be up all night.
I don't think the reasoning behind it was I don't think he would have been given anything else. You know, I don't know if Sitara would have bought him like fancy coffee like that. So,
Dezzen, is it some sort of well-to-do fashion to drink basic coffee?
no, it's just what I'm used to.
Would you like to try some of my latte? It's quite good. It has milk and some caramel. It's very good. Much better than black coffee, I assure you.
I think for tonight I'll stick to what I know.
Well, for such a noble adventurer, someone's not very adventurous with their coffee.
There's something comforting in this.
I suppose I could understand that. Very well.
Owl bear milk. That's so gross. Oh, God. Oh, shit. This is, as long as it's not milk from a Tauren, we're fine.
I trust milk from a Tauren over owlbear milk any day.
I don't know, dude. I don't trust milk from anything that speaks.
It's kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie.
How's the milk coming? What's the flow like? Could you shut up? I'm trying to get your milk. God, this is weird.
Just no. So, you can either sit out on the veranda and drink your coffee and people watch, walk the town.
Yeah, I think I'd sit down.
Gato Bleepa's smoothie.
Oh, God. It's so gross. Ugh.
You can really taste the death ray.
I kept that picture too. It's so funny.
What was that thing a mix of? Like,
I don't remember.
It was like the
buffalo and hog.
always looking downward.
Right.
It's the creepiest thing.
With the death ray, apparently that points at the ground. I don't know. Mechanics just don't add up, you
No,
know?
they don't.
They really didn't think about their mob design when they built that one. And when I say they, I mean the culture that invented it. I think it was, what, Ethiopia or something? Yes. Comforting.
Yeah, Neil would just go wherever Dezzen wants to go because he's kind of letting Dezzen. He knows this is Dezzen's first adventure.
Yeah, do these coffees have paper straws? These are important details.
No, I guess you wouldn't be able to walk around town with them because they would request the cups back. No, they're just simple pottery. Fancy cups. So
I love the mugs you get at Java's. They're bigger than anything I have at home.
you can buy them for 1 gold each.
I was talking to my friend. Thank you, sales clerk.
My apologies.
Tell you, they try to get you coming and going, Dezzen.
Neil,
I'm still right here, Dezzen.
I'm just gonna ignore it. Did you feel at all bad for the other kids that were in that wagon?
My God, I didn't even think of that. I thought it was just adults left. Which I still felt kind of bad about. I don't know. Actually, I'm quite conflicted. Everything I've ever been told is it's always ne'er-do-wells that get sent to the mines. And so seeing children there was very shocking. If there were more children there, wow. I didn't even think of that.
I can assure you it's not always just adults. I was fortunate enough to have some sort of skill that was pointed out.
Oh,
Perhaps it was just my origin, I'm not sure.
So they were collecting drow children.
The famine forced my people to trade.
That's terrible. I'm so sorry.
I've often wondered if they survived it, if it was worth the cost.
The shadow mines.
Going home.
I don't, honestly, but not because I think little of them. They're pretty quiet people. I hope that's still the case. I hadn't given it much thought. I'd always assumed because we were so good at keeping to ourselves, they wouldn't have gotten caught up in anything. But I suppose famine is indiscriminate in who it punishes. I had not thought about my people in the better half of a decade.
With Dezzen, would Sitara have realized that his blood was different, and that's why she was able to train him in what she did, or what her people did, or was it just purely circumstantial? Because you kind of alluded to the blood thing. Was it like that before or after? You see what I'm saying?
It would have been just a series of tests that she would have run on you. Most of them would not have been pleasant, but it would have just been a series of tests and trials to see what you were best at, and that just happened to be what it was. She just happened to have ties with people who were blood hunters. Would be one of the very few tribes in the entirety of Inoursa.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think much of it until after we left. The children in the cages, that is.
You're thinking there could be perhaps gnome or other children in there from the depths.
No, I more thought that was me at that age. But it's not something I'd ever thought about before.
You mentioned you had a skill, so you're saying if you had not had this skill, they would have sent you to the shadow pit?
I'm not entirely sure why she chose me. I know the test she ran intrigued her. That's about the extent of what I know about it. But I know if those other kids had been wanted for something else, they would have been used for something else.
Well, that Cavani, he told us to make sure the kids were out safely. Perhaps he had to do, in some part, with springing them. And if so, maybe if there were more children, he worked out a way to free them. It's the only thing I can think of. I don't think we'd be able to get back in any time at this point to help them if there were more.
No, there's that chance is gone. I'm not suggesting fighting that system, but it's just not something I've ever thought of until now.
Me either.
I wouldn't even know where to start, to be honest.
I'm in a similar headspace to you. I'd always assumed that gods and demigods had our best interests at heart. This is an alarming day.
What I feel like demigods and gods were all benevolent in that way. Would he believe that? Do you think?
It depends on the god and the demigod. I would say that with all the time that you spent with... Okay, so the time that you spent within Desmi around the other gods. So Tara would have bowed to them in supplicants, but not quite what they would expect from like an immortal, right?
Right. And she saw herself as a demigod. You always said, right?
Yes, she is a demigod.
Right.
And there were quite a few of them that she did get along with, but you would only know this because of how much time you've spent with her. There would be just an aura of regret, almost, and determination when she was when she was in front of specifically the king and the queen, and maybe even one or two of the other gods.
Yeah, and I think I was just speaking with like what I imagine to be Neil's regional dialect. When he says gods and goddesses, and demigods, he's not speaking about all of them. He's speaking about this body of like Malik, Nakash, Nurkash, Kunal, these gods that he would know a lot about.
Right, for sure. And they would. The cities themselves, the cities are beautiful. Everybody's well taken care of. The taxes might be high, but there's a reason for it. They have to arm the protectors of the mines, and keep the city beautiful and well protected from the creatures from the north. So without that money, the creatures from the shade are a huge threat. So people are happy to pay that tax to remain in the city. And those that don't live in the city. They live elsewhere. I didn't want to make this a political campaign. The happy tax. It's the happy tax. So this can be, so if y'all's characters go that way, that's completely okay, but I just want to make it, this isn't the must follow dotted line, if that makes sense.
The only thing that they have like a goal for at this point is to get toenails. I mean, that's why it's I'm keeping it open-ended as well as far as what I'm doing. I think Dezzen at least would be interested in... I don't know how much he's actually interested in. He was just told to leave. So he's just kind of following and doing potentially what he knows, and that's it. I mean, outside of that, like, he doesn't have like a goal in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point we're just doing exactly what we're doing. We're at a coffee shop discussing the day.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that, because I know y'all had both stated you didn't want a political campaign. This is just so I don't want y'all to think that I'm trying to push you in the direction of a political campaign.
No, I don't think yeah, I don't have any like goals in mind at all.
Okay.
Like none. So Dezzen, he's just at a point where like he's been, he was purchased, traded by his people, by this lady. He's never really thought of, I think, that servitude as being evil necessarily, at least not in a long time. So coming across it when it's not like already in the city, it's in a sense it's being humanized, right? And I think that's what's got him thinking, is seeing the humanized aspect of it. But he's also not like, really trying to go and upset the status quo quite yet. So he, in his mind, like he's gonna go back to Satara and everything's gonna be hunky dory. Even though he's worried, he's kind of got that hopeful, like, yeah, everything's gonna go back to normal. In the meantime, I'm gonna travel with this, gnome, this newfound friend, and we'll see what happens. But I definitely don't have any goals in mind.
All right. I just I'll let y'all finish your coffee conversation, and then we can end after that and pick up at exactly that point next week. So, Neil, you would know that any talk against the paradigm is pretty frowned upon. So, not real sure how open you would be with your words sitting on an open veranda overlooking the main walk of,
I guess it depends on how many people are around.
Strasme. I mean, there's always a lot of people in
cautious,
Strasme.
but he's also Neil.
Yeah, there's always a lot of people in Strasme.
Okay, yeah.
It does quiet down
over,
like as the hour goes on. It does quiet down, but I mean, you wouldn't be the only table that's sat out on the veranda.
All right. Then I probably would have pulled statements like, I thought all the people sent to the mines are ne'er-do-wells. I probably would have just said things like, today was an alarming day.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that once people started filtering off the patio that you would be a little bit more open, but just so, it just is a little reminder to Neil. Doesn't all of this talk would be pretty new to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I'd been playing it, is like, I would never speak this way around anyone but Dezzen, but I feel like because Dezzen's so naive, he needs to be educated in the way the world works, which is why I'm kind of leveling with him, how I feel.
Right. Alright, I'll stop interrupting. I know it's only session 2, so there's just so much information that's just kind of up in the air. Alright.
Well, hopefully Cavani will help the remaining children, and I think with us, we gotta get those toenails.
Does it not make you think?
It makes me think. I'm not sure what more should be said. Where we are?
Right. You're right.
A great place to talk about whimsical subjects, though, is the road to the Ogre Lands. It's quite a long road, and otherwise quite boring, so conversation is welcome.
Well, I believe I'm done with my coffee. Perhaps we should find a place to stay for the night.
I agree. I'm going to save mine. I forgot to get decaf, so I can't drink the whole thing.
Ew, leftover specialty coffee for breakfast. Ew. Sorry.
He's a frugal son of a gun.
Yeah, for sure. He is. So you will need to get a...
Can I get this in a to-go sack?
Right. I'm trying to think how that would happen. Waxed paper. Yes, that can happen. Of course. To go. It's not going to be any good cold.
I'll reheat it. It will be fine.
All right. It'll be 5 copper for the waxed paper.
You got it.
Neil.
Still right here.
You realize that's half of a new coffee, right?
I do, but it's still more than half of a coffee remaining, so I'm still coming out slightly ahead.
Could you not just get a smaller size and get a brand new coffee tomorrow?
Well, I mean, that would have been the wise decision in the past. I can only work with what I have here in the present.
Right.
For instance, I could tell you, don't get hit by the tree, but all you have to work with is, I need to put ointment on my skin to heal my tree wounds.
Yeah, speaking of which, I should find a healer while I'm here.
That would be wise. I don't know if anything was broken, though I don't see any signs of strong bruising.
No, surprisingly, a tree did not break anything.
It's quite amazing, really. A testament to your... By the way, I don't know if we can talk about that, where your eyes do the shimmy and you kind of hunch over a little bit.
No, it's probably best to keep that secret.
It's quite impressive. I've never seen anything like it.
No, I wouldn't call it impressive. It's not as if I have a choice.
Oh, it just happens?
I can control it, but it's not like I had a choice in acquiring it.
On a side note, since we may encounter the children again later, and I noticed you're struggling for jokes, anytime someone says it's not, you could say you said snot, and then that usually gets a laugh out of children.
Neil.
Yes.
I think I'd rather find my own sense of humor.
Oh, well, I mean, to each his own. Just trying to offer my assistance.
I appreciate that. You've got a big heart for somebody so small.
Thank you, I think.
He was trying to make a joke and he floundered. Shit.
Yeah, Neil totally missed it.
Yep. Anyway, let's find somewhere to stay. Perhaps somewhere with a bath. As I'd rather not somebody be able to smell me from 10 miles away.
That should not be hard. This is a much better off set of facilities here.
Are you going to try to return half the room if you don't use it?
That wasn't half bad. I like that one.
I'll get better.
I mean, certainly if they have some sort of policy that would allow me to execute a half-room return. Yes. In fact, you make me think the night is almost halfway over. Perhaps I could negotiate such a price.
I'll just kind of shake my head and laugh as we walk towards it.
Excuse me, do you have late check-in?
So,
how about half a night?
If y'all are staying in the same area,
I think I'd want to.
okay, you will find the Azure Shroud. Wow. The Azure Shroud Resort. And as you enter, it is beautiful stone flooring, paintings on the walls that look like much of the surrounding landscapes. The pretty side, not the swamp side. Walk up to the reception table. Good evening. How can I help you tonight?
We are two great adventurers after a long day's journey that need a place of respite for the evening.
Of course. You need a room for both of you, or do you need two single rooms?
Don't think about it, Neil. 2 separate rooms, please.
Would you
I
like them
was going to-
adjacent to each other?
Yes, please.
As you wish. It is 2 goldenite per room. There are private baths in each room, heated stoves, and breakfast will be served at 8 a.m.
You could save 2 gold if we split the room.
All right.
Damn it.
So are we both?
Wait, how many beds are in this room? We don't have to share the same bed, do we?
No.
Bernard is a small child.
Bernard makes an excellent cot. Even if there's one bed, I'll just roll out the Bernard cot.
You require a room with 2 separate beds. There will only be 1 private bath, but we have those available.
That
much
should
are
work.
2 gold for the room.
Yes. Yeah, we'll just take 1 room.
I will need your names, where you also reside, and where you are heading, please, in this book. She has like an entry book.
My name is Dez.
In the book, please.
Sorry.
Dez.
I got it here. Cornelius, Babel,
None yet.
Stapple, and Dez. There we go. Our names are in here.
Thank you. Now, if you'll please both place your hands on the table.
Okay.
What for?
To assign the keys, of course.
Oh, yes. I forgot about this. This is quite fun.
Right.
So you both place your hands on the table, and where you lay your hands, just outside of your fingers, a slight yellow glow emits, and then you hear a ding coming from just the air around you. Alright. You'll be in 301. Straight up the stairs, 3rd floor. On the left. You need anything?
301.
Please ring the bell. You may place your hands on the door to unlock it. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Go up to your room. As expected, down mattresses, down pillows. I know it looks blue. The sheets themselves are luxurious and soft. The room smells of honeysuckle. And there are light refreshments set out on the side, and the private bath will automatically have hot water.
You can take the bath first. I should have gotten that sandwich. I'll just be eating the refreshments.
Okay. So, oh, and the door to the room, of course, you lay your hand on it, and it has the same glow. And instead of a little ding, just hear a click as the door unlocks. But you have a room for the night. And that is where we will end in case there are conversations that need to happen before you go to sleep. Lots of fun.
I've never shared a room with another man before. How does this work? I assume you just do your business with the door closed and then we switch at some point, or do I need to close my eyes at some point?
You could just not look.
Ooh, follow-up question. I'm just trying to learn more now that we have some privacy. Do you change when you shower? You know, like change.
No.
Oh. I'm a little bit disappointed, but I guess I shouldn't have gotten my hopes up.
Does it smell like wet dog?
That's what my curiosity was. If he had said yes, I would have asked.
Right. No, that will only ever be used in battle.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Or if I feel threatened.
Well, I'm going to put my coffee over here on this end table. Please remember, it is my coffee. You would be welcome to try it, however you declined previously. So now I think sufficient manners should dictate that it is my coffee.
You paid for this coffee. It was always your coffee.
Well, yes, but I know when one is groggy in the morning, they're like, ooh, I require coffee. Oh, there's coffee. I just, it's a pet peeve. I don't like people drinking my coffee.
Neil, we could just walk to get more coffee.
That may happen after I finish this coffee.
Unless you don't wish to spend any more money on the coffee.
I actually hadn't had Javas in quite a while. I must admit it was quite delicious. I had a bit of an addiction a few years ago that I kicked. I can feel it already coming back.
Well, there's nothing quite like ogre nails to get the blood pumping, I suppose.
You're an odd man, Dezzen. An odd man.
Right. Tomorrow I would like to go to a healer and maybe a library.
That's right.
I don't know what you're wanting to do, but we could meet back up here or travel together.
Yes. Healer in a library. I'll have to give that some thought.
I'm going to take a bath now.
I thought you told me we just wouldn't address it. Now I feel a little bit weird that you've told me I'm just going to look this way.
I'll close the door.
See? Not so silly now that I was asking about these procedures and you were just why don't you just look the other way?
I mean, to be fair, I was not the one that brought it up.
Well, I was just trying to be thoughtful.
Right. And then I'll just close the door and go take a bath.
I just picture Neil like trying to see if it's gonna smell like wet dog.
He took Dezzen at his word, so instead he is spreading out his things almost perfectly across half the room. Not so much like demarking his territory, but just he's so messy and has so much shit on Bernard that when he unpacks it, he just clutters half the room.
Perfect line straight down between the beds. Would Neil have had a favorite treat or snack that he brought on adventures?
Yes, it would be Marcy's pound cake.
half of it. No, there would be a bite out of it.
I totally heard that differently.
It was intentionally said that way.
Yeah, like nerdy roommates at college.
Pound cake.
There would be a single bite taken out of it, teeny tiny one, but then it was left alone, and you would find like the chunk spit out within the rest of the things.
Those fucking sprites. You don't touch a man's pound cake.
I mean, seriously. Wouldn't be up to their standards, unfortunately. Dezzen and Neil are fucking ridiculous, and I love it. I love every moment of this, guys. This is so good.
It's quite the dichotomy.
It is. So, just to catch everybody up, because I know Silas for sure missed the beginning of today's session. Of course, we started out at the hotel, the Goblin's Hotel, and there was fuckery had. So they never made it out of the swamp until just now.
Yeah, I never had any intention to blow through that area. I mean, honestly, like this campaign, I'm much more... And I think after playing Austin's, like I'm much more okay with just walking around. And especially Dezzen's character, right? Like he's not really in a hurry to do anything, you know? He's basically a fucking hobo at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately that's true. But yeah.
I need to find a cart in this city.
Cart?
Yeah, so I can put my crap in it and push it around. Since I'm going to be homeless.
Hobo. Took me a second.
Nice.
I got it. So
yeah, I'd say Neil like is a cyclical being. He has like his two lives, his life on the road and his life with Marcy. And so when he does one for too long, he misses the other. And then he just kind of oscillates between that. So he's currently in adventure mode.
Gotcha. Perfect. I love it. So y'all are about 2 days from the ogres in the hillside. You will pass through Dustford, but you don't have to stay there. You could camp right outside of it, or you could stay in Dustford. That is up to you guys. But it looks like we might be spending another session, or at least a partial session, in Strasme. So
yeah, I think Dezzen too would be interested in seeing if he can find any news about his master.
thanks for stopping in, Tulin.
Yes, thank you. And welcome to the insanity.
100%. So
Yeah, and I think between now and next session, Neil probably won't do anything super meaningful while Dezzen's out shopping. He'll probably indulge his recurring caffeine addiction.
wait, say that again?
Nice.
Like, I'm imagining that Neil will think he could make plans when Dezzen leaves, but then end up at Java's and just drinking too much coffee.
Okay.
Because he has a strong coffee addiction that he had kicked until just now.
Perfect. Perfect. I mean, there's coffee to be had.
Makes sense as a tinkerer too, or as an artificer, that you would be addicted to a stimulant.
Yeah, totally. I think it fits his character, and I think that I could see what he would want to do in the city, but now that he's had this wonderful cup, he will be distracted.
Partial cup.
By that.
Partial
That's right.
cup.
That's right.
Yeah. Gross. All I can think of is we went to Starbucks and they gave me the wrong coffee. They gave me a white mocha instead of just a mocha. And it was slimy. It was slimy. And all I can think about is what that would be the next day, which would be cold, sour, and slimy. And it's just like, no. That's a lot of no.
Yeah, it's intentionally a little gross of a thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, so definitely a library, a healer.
Did you want potions, or are you doing this alchemy route, Tim? You're gonna like try to learn how to make your own.
I think he's gonna buy them while he can, and then he'll probably start learning a few things as time goes on. But it's not going to be immediate. But I think he's going to try to learn at least what he needs to get for the common ones that he was taught how to make. Outside of that, you okay?
There is one thing that he'd get done. I just realized he would get 10 snips and a screwdriver.
Hey, so like
He
a hardware
needs
store.
a full set of tools. I think that would like be gnawing away at him, making it difficult to sleep.
Okay, so hardware store, library, and healer. Okay. Let me make notes.
And alchemy shop for the potions.
Right. Okay. Alchemy. Perfect. Okay. So, questions, comments for the night? New goals that y'all have?
Still no goals.
Yeah, I'd say I'm comfortably without a goal at this point.
Right. Yep. Same here. I think his only real goal is just to find out what happened to Satara, but that's about it. And that's
Yeah.
just a matter of gathering information.
I feel similarly about Neil. Is like I think Neil would have a natural curiosity, given his new friend, to like want to help with the Satara situation, but then knows that it's like way out of their league at the same time. So he's like, I'm only going to help if Dezzen says, "Hey, we got to go back."
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't know if he, and I don't know if he would try to help. She told him to leave.
Right.
So I don't know if
Yeah.
he would try to go back. So it's more like he just wants to know what happened, so he just knows, even
Right.
if he can't do anything about it, you know. So it's just a matter of figuring that out, and then they'll have to decide what they want to do after that. But the bottom line for him is, I don't know if he feels safe going back to that city if something does happen to her, you know, because it's not like he would be unknown.
I was kind of thinking about this during this session. Is like, do we need to find some ways to be more stealthy with you? Like we used the half name there
So
to check into the inn, but
I
like,
will
do we
say-
need to be?
only because it was something that we had to do a lot in last campaign, that they will not have any interest in chasing down her pets.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's why I'm like slanted to it, is because of all the druid experience. I'm like,
Yeah.
I always have to remember to hide.
Yeah.
Some of Warforged, and everybody wants the Warforged.
And I don't think he would think he's important enough to care. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
I think just in his experience, like, I don't think that would even come up in his mind. Or
But with people we don't know,
that-
we just don't mention Satara. Is kind of the vibe I was getting. We like keep that to people we trust only.
I don't know. I don't know if it would matter. You know, I mean, there may be I would imagine, just based off of like what I gather, is there maybe certain people that would want her legacy destroyed if that's what it was. I don't know, but it may just be that they don't care. So I don't know. Like I don't know if we have the enough information to make that determination at this point.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying.
That's why I haven't even bothered to try to hide myself, because I just feel like it's like he doesn't have that information yet, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't.
And-
so
And he
all
wouldn't
Neil
have been privy
had.
to what was going on. So
Right. All Neil had was like, she sent you away. So then, does that mean we don't talk about her until she tells us it's okay?
I don't know. Like, I think it's a natural thing where I don't think he would bring it up unless it came up. Like, I don't know if he would
Okay.
bring it up necessarily. It's one of those things where it's like he was told to leave and that it was dangerous, and that was about it. Did she tell him to get out of the city or just to get out of the estate, get out of the area, right? Yeah, so it may not even matter going back to the city. I'm not sure.
All right then.
But
Yeah,
the determination as to
questions.
what to do about it is going to depend on how I feel eventually he would feel about the whole situation. Because, I mean, there's a couple ways you can go, right? Like, the one way is that he cares a lot and keeps that connection and tries to do something. The other direction is that he doesn't and realizes, like, what's been done over the last 40 years or whatever, and then goes the other direction. There's also the path of just, you know, what the practical what's done is done thing, and then move on, right? So I don't know. Like, that's something I haven't determined with him yet. That's why I'm just every session we play, I'm just kind of based off of like the decisions in the moment. It's going to boil down to kind of a very moment type of a scenario where he's going to have to decide at some moment. And it almost came up tonight with the slave kids. Honestly, like, that was something where I actually had to make an active decision, almost like a Goosebumps book, you know, where it was like, would he try to save them? Why wouldn't he, or why would he? And I'd made the decision that he wouldn't, because he still feels like he's part of that caste system, so to speak. So he's trying to still be loyal to what she would want and wouldn't have made the decision to do anything about it. But it did make him question later on, you know, as we got further away from it. Like, I mean, things did creep into his head. So what he does with that, I'm not sure. It'll be a very in-the-moment decision, I feel like.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I feel like Dezzen's evolution is going to be really interesting. Because all he's ever known was slavery. He was literally born as a half-drow male in a very female-dominant society. So, and his father was the one that wasn't drow. So he was already a possession. So all he's known is slavery. And then his new master who purchased him has always had pets. She doesn't call them slaves. So to kind of see like an outside world of where it comes from is definitely, it's just going to be interesting to see how that culminates. And then with Neil not really having any understanding.
And it's not even slavery, it's property. Like, he's been somebody else's property. That's the way I view it more.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't feel like a slave as much as he feels like he belongs to somebody, is more what it is. So what happens if that is taken out of the picture and he no longer belongs to anybody, you know, then what decisions does he make at that point? So that's kind of what I'm saying is, like, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I know what Tim would do. You know, Tim would say burn that shit down, but yeah, I'd go straight punk on those bitches, you know. But I don't know what Dezzen would do. I don't know what his thought process is going to be. Because not everybody that breaks out of that ends up becoming independent, you know. Just the fact of, it's kind of the reality. So anyway, fun times. we've got a couple interesting characters to play around with, so it's cool. I'm enjoying it.
Night, Silas. Thanks for hanging out.
Night, Silas.
Yeah, it was a fun night. What this is telling me the last 2 sessions is that I need to prep more world stuff. More world. Like, fill out the world a little bit more than I did last campaign. Which is fine. Fine for me.
Well, I think both Austin and I are enjoying the exploration aspect a lot more than what we did before, you know, and it's kind of like, and with 2 people, now he's got more tie downs, right, to his life, but Dezzen doesn't, so he doesn't feel like he needs to, nor does he have a strong moral compass. And that's the other thing, like Jordan had a very strong moral compass, you know, he wanted to do what was right. Even violently so. He was almost a lawful good type of a character in the end. Whereas Dezzen doesn't really have, I mean, it's like you guys pointed out, like he doesn't really have a personality. Like he's kind of, you know, he's kind of a drone. Like he doesn't have a moral compass really. So it's like, you know, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what Neil and him do because, yeah.
Yeah, I
feel
think
like
I agree. I think it's not just that we enjoy the exploration, but like something that makes it feel okay to explore is what feels nice is there's not a overarching evil thing looming, and that felt like a pressure on the last campaign that anytime I wanted to like go down a explory route, it was like at the suffering of the children, or at the suffering of the Warforged, or at the suffering of this or that. And so having a campaign where I'm a nobody feels kind of nice because I can just go do stuff.
Yeah, and that's where I'm kind of, that's kind of just his decision-making, Dezzen's decision-making process too, is it's like, it's kind of nice staying neutral, where you're not trying to get involved in everybody's bullshit. Like, could we have saved the children in that thing? Sure. Could we have killed the guards? Maybe. I don't know, or died in the process. But that decision wasn't made purposefully, you know. Not that I didn't give a shit personally about the kids, but there's something nice about being neutral and not feeling like you have to save every fucking thing that comes across. So it's kind of a thought experiment for me as well. You know, as far as playing a game in a way that you don't feel like you have to be the hero, you know. At least not immediately.
Works for me.
Yeah.
All right, well, if y'all have any more thoughts or anything else that y'all want to do next session, let me know. But other than that, I'm gonna burn the stream down, and we're gonna say goodnight. Bye, stream. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Talk to you Thursday. Pew, pew, pew. I love that one. Okay, I'm really going now. See y'all Thursday.
Good night, everybody.